Welcome to another Attractions Guide video, and today I'm going to be reviewing Alton Towers Scarefest 2018 at Alton Towers Resort in Staffordshire. Now, we spent the weekend there for Scarefest, the opening day, which was Saturday the 6th and Sunday the 7th of October. We experienced all three mazes numerous amounts of times, and I'm going to sit here today and talk about each and every maze in brief detail of goods and bads, what we experienced on the weekend. Now, before I start this video, I'd like to say Scarefest was as good as ever. I think there's been many of improvements this year compared to last year. I did mention stuff like this in my previous video of what my expectations are for Scarefest 2018, but I have had the opportunity to visit this year, and I can tell you there's certain things that are very, very good, but yet there's certain things that I feel like still needs improving from what I experienced at the weekend. So let's get into it. So let's get into discussing the first maze, which is Subspecies, The End Games. Subspecies, The End Games is now in its third season at Alton Towers, and it debuted in 2015, and now it's back again in 2018. And the only slight change I noticed this year is they've added some dead ends, extended the blackout bit a little bit, which is called the labyrinth room, a little bit wider, and they've added a few bits and bobs to it. It also seemed a lot darker than previous years, which is always good, but I still felt like that maze was very actor shy, and there was hardly any actors. Don't get me wrong, the actors what was inside Subspecies did a fantastic job, but I felt like this maze was lacking that oomph it's had in previous years. Even though it was darker, I still thought it was like one of the weaker of the mazes on the lineup this year. And normally Subspecies is the one that gets me going the most, but unfortunately it wasn't up to good scratch. Now, that was on the Saturday. On the Sunday, I felt like there was loads more actors, and the actors had kind of also got used to the surroundings, so we kind of got split up a little bit more and toyed around with the actors. So I think it kind of depends on what day you go. I mean, the first day wasn't too great, but then the second day it improved a little bit. It seemed like there was a lot more smoke in there. The smells as well was more prominent, so I think it depends on what time of day you go with Subspecies and the other attractions, shall I say. What I will say is the actors that was inside Subspecies did a fantastic job, to say it was the first day. It's always nice to see actors inside scare mazes creating them impact scares, and not just toying around with one person of the group. They're also toying around with multiple people and even the whole group. But I felt like I didn't get split up as much as what I have in previous years again. But, you know, with the price tag of £16 you expect, and that's with mail and annual pass discount, normal general members of the public have to pay £20. So with the price tag, you kind of hope to get the best of the best every time you go through that attraction. Now, I know it's not possible because actor changes, you know, and stuff like that. So Subspecies was definitely the weaker maze on this year's lineup. And I think next year they need to make room for something bigger and better than Subspecies, and close Subspecies doors for good. I think now the sell by date is well and truly gone, and don't get me wrong, it's still a scary and eerie maze, but if you're taking away the level of being on your own from that, it just turns it into a standard maze, which I don't really get much enjoyment out anymore. Now on to Altonville Mine Tours Legend of the Skin Snatchers. Now, I'd like to say before I start that review, wow, what a fantastic maze that really is. So much more of an improvement from last season. I felt like the actors created so many impact scares. They also knew their surroundings. You could tell the actors knew their surroundings because of the way they were, the way they was around the group and gone again. So we'd get like the group going through, we'd have actors coming from all directions. The smells in that maze are unbelievable, as well as the music. I absolutely love the music of Altonville Mine Tours. Now, I'd just like to say what a fantastic maze that is, and it just blew my mind. The first time I went through it, it was fantastic from the get-go. The actors in there was unbelievable, and I feel like that maze could live on another couple of seasons, because with a maze like that, you can constantly refresh it. You can change the ending, you can change the middle bit of the maze, you can also change the start of the maze. So with that, I think Alton Towers can kind of develop onto that more, and that could become Alton Towers' flagship maze. Don't get me wrong, it's not my all-time favourite maze at Alton Towers. That would always be the Sanctuary, but Altonville is coming close second. The theming inside the maze is unbelievable. The smells, the whole eeriness of that maze. I mean, for a start, when you're walking through the blow-up gas mask miners, I always think there's going to be an actor inside of there, even though I've been through it many a times. There's never been an actor in there. I still always check each and every one of them as I'm walking through, because you never know with these actors at Alton Towers, they could surprise you. But the first time on the Saturday was amazing. We went through it on the second time and it felt a little bit rushed. We was kind of rushed through, and that's expected, like I said, with the subspecies, you know, actor change and stuff like that. So you can't always guarantee 110% every time you go through these attractions. It's kind of hit and miss. But on the Sunday, we was in the room with all the jars of skin inside these little like mason jars. There's loads of them, and I'll show you a picture on screen now. It was in this room. We heard like a flicker, and then the house lights come on, so we got evacuated. We went straight out and then put straight back in again, and wow, the smoke in there the next day was unbelievable. It was so disorientating with the smells. And the one thing with that maze is you can smell when it's going even further and further, because the smells start to change and you start to notice the different smells. The audio is pretty similar all the way through, with the Charlie Rich, the most beautiful girl in the world. But that maze, for me, is unbelievable, and I can't wait to go back on the 25th to experience it again. Just amazing. And Altonville Mine Tours, for me, was the best maze at Scarefest this year, and I'm going to give it a 4.5 pumpkin rating. The next maze I'm going to talk about is brand new, new for 2018, Project 42, located in Forbidden Valley in the SBNO Subterra building. Now with this maze, is debutant this year, and a little bit of the backstory that is written inside the map is, if I can find it, that even. The Phalanx team require your help in this live action maze. Will you find the vaccination and cure those affected by a very nasty virus? So because I can't really review this in depth, because I've only done it through, like, I think I've only done it 4 times maybe, but I don't want to give any spoilers, so I won't review it in depth. But basically, when you first start that maze, you're given a bit of a briefing video, which it tells you about these human test subjects, and it turned the test subjects into, and in quotation marks, mindless animals. Now basically you know right when that said what you're in for, and Project 42 didn't let down whatsoever. I thought that was such a good maze for its calibre. It looks very well themed. The actors inside there are fantastic, as well as the use of the props that are already inside Subterra, like the egg and stuff like that. Fantastic, and I think Alton Towers need to give them a pat on the back for their quick thinking with the storyline of that maze, because I think that's another maze that can catch on and can kind of, you know, if you keep it fresh, stay on the Alton lineup for a couple more years at Scarefest. But you've got to keep it fresh, maybe change the ending and change, you know, bits and bats with the maze itself. But with Project 42, the smells, the music, with the rock music, the heavy guitars, then in the strobe maze you've got the machine gun with a lady shouting hands up, open fire. Fantastic, well themed maze, and that for me never let down on all 4 occasions that I went through that maze. I felt like at one point we kind of split off from the group because we was kind of rushed at a certain scene, and then it was then left to us to kind of slow down to then catch back up with our group, which wasn't really a problem, but we got asked by a host, why are we standing still? And that was basically to wait for the group of guys that we went through. So the host was kind of questioning why we'd we'd kind of slowed down a little bit, and that was because we'd got separated from our group, and they was okay with it. We're waiting just before a certain scene, so there was no actors around, so we could wait there for the rest of our group to catch up. But like I was saying, with that maze, it is fantastic, and for an attraction which I feel like they've not spent much money on, I feel like it's gone in Alton's favour this year with that attraction. And I'd definitely give that attraction a 4 pumpkin rating, because not quite Altonville Mines, but much better than Subspecies, and I feel like with the lifespan of Project 42 we can kind of keep that going for another couple of years, but with Subspecies I really don't think we can do that. The Welcoming, Be Chosen, back again for another year with a slight change in the route and the storyline. Obviously, when The Welcoming first opened, it was the marketing teaser maze for SW8, which is now known as Wicker Man. Wicker Man's now been open for quite some time, and Alton Towers have decided to bring back the Bjornen's maze, The Welcoming. Now, last year I wasn't really a fan of The Welcoming. I thought it was a fantastic theatrical experience, but this year it was even better. They've got rid of the bag over the head rope section, which I felt was pointless, may I add, in last year's. It was absolutely ridiculous. But now they've got rid of that, and I'm happy again because it looks great. And I kind of also think they've reduced the amounts of actors inside that maze, because obviously it's not as important as last year when it was the big thing. But this year they've kind of reduced the actors, and at certain points there's a section where you don't see any actors for quite some time, or it's the same actor in, say, 4 or 5 different scenes. And that, for me, there's no problem in that, but it's kind of the same thing but with different theming. But don't get me wrong, it was much better than last year, and I find that this year has to be that maze's last year. To keep things going fresh again, you have to develop a new maze, and I think with The Welcoming, I think next year we should make room for something bigger and better. Exactly like subspecies, get rid of subspecies, bring something bigger and better in. Don't get me wrong, like I said, it's the welcoming's much better this year, but for an upcharge attraction of £8, I felt like I still didn't get my money's worth. It's a really good attraction for doing it the once, but doing it a second time is just a waste of money. We did it on the Saturday as well as the Sunday, and I felt like the Sunday was better. They've added a section at the end where it's a long corridor and you're in like this wooden tunnel kind of thing, and as you walk through, these flames burst up as you walk through, just before you leave, which is good, and hopefully with the additions and what they've done this year will be well received by the guests, because like I said, to charge people £8 per run through is quite steep, so you have to make sure people are going to get their money's worth. Now, the finale, like I said, it has also been reworked and archives a much better and more consistent effect than last year. Throughout the maze, the stunning sets and scenery once again help guests feel like they've really transported into some sort of different world. And the theatricality of that attraction is spot on. The theme sets are unbelievable, but I still don't think it should be a separate upcharge attraction. I still think it needs to be in the combination ticket. Why not include 4 mazes in the combination ticket? For £16, it's quite a lot of money, so include them. Include them all, instead of charging £8 per go through. And I'm not going to lie, each and every time I went through it, there was no queue. So maybe people are thinking, I'll probably do the main mazes, but I'll keep this one and not bother, because £8 is quite a lot of money. That can get you, I mean, if you like your beer, that can get you 4 pints of Stella. 4 pints of Stella or a 10-minute walk through the welcoming. You decide. Stella and the well, two completely different things, but I'll give this a 3.5 pumpkin rating, I'm afraid. Theatricality is amazing, you can't take that away from that maze, but for me, to still charge £8, ludicrous. But you know what, hopefully next year we see something better. On the 25th, we are returning back to Scarefest, and that is when I will cover the live shows at the resort, the Alton Ancestors, and numerous other things around the resort, like House of Monsters and stuff like that. This video was only the Scare Maze review, and I will have more videos on Alton Towers Scarefest in the next coming weeks. Thank you very much for watching. I'm also doing a giveaway of a Scarefest part map, which is strictly on Twitter. So head over to our Twitter account, link will be in the description, and see if you can get your hands on a Alton Towers Scarefest 2018 part map. It's only a little bit of something, but obviously if you're not visiting Scarefest stand this year and you're a collector of part maps, then why not? I mean, the part map, it's not really changed much apart from, obviously, a different style theme, but, it's a different map that Alton Towers have released, and some people, collect these kind of things. So, the giveaway's on Twitter. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Follow all of our social media links in the description below. And if you have an opinion on any of the Scare Mazes this year, drop me a comment down below and we can have a little discussion of our pros and cons of each maze. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.